I want to bring in now Mr. Gerry Duggan. Gerry, hi.
How are you? It's wonderful to see
I'm
you.
good. Yeah, you too. Look at you outside flaunting your nice California weather.
Welcome to Duggan Con, attendance one.
Oh boy. We also have writer Brian Posehn. Brian, how you doing?
I'm good, man. How are you?
I'm doing great. And rounding out our trio right now is artist Mike Hawthorne. Hello, Mike.
Hey, how are you, man?
I'm great. I'm great. Let's.
That's a nice rack behind you. I really like that.
Yes, it's very handsome.
Old-timey rack. Yeah, you have a handsome rack. I'm being serious.
I am too.
See, this is why I'm
rack.
excited about this part of the chat here, is because
It's already off the rails.
Yeah, it's all off the rails, especially with you, Gerry, and Brian. Let's talk a little bit about your process, because you guys worked together for a while. Coming in, doing Deadpool. What is it like to be co-writers, especially launching a book, a character like Deadpool? What was that process like for you guys?
It was a while ago, but it was super important as fans of Deadpool to not piss off the fans. Like, we didn't want to write a book that we would go, oh man, that was like a big thing for us. I remember when we first got the chance at even pitching on him, we were like, what would we like to see as fans? But let's also not screw this up.
Yeah, and when we were asked to pitch on what would become Marvel Now Deadpool had two voices in his head. And, one of the things that happened in a very weird, kind of cool meta sense was that we ended up having one voice out of it, but the two voices in his head outside in our universe. So Brian and I worked really hard to try and come up with fun stories that Marvel believed in, and that then obviously went over, and those stories went to our artists, and then those artists told those stories to use. So we just tried to let fun be our guiding star. If we were having fun, we tended to try and not question it. And I think that was a lot of what I admired about Brian as a writer and a performer before I got the chance to work with him in Mr. Show. Nobody questioned a laugh, or if we were trying to break hearts, if you went, oh gosh, that'd be brutal to do, we did it.
Right. We always wanted that, like that first, the first 5 issues. That was mostly Gerry's idea, the Dead Presidents, but we always wanted it to be like a big summer movie. We wanted that for our first launch. We wanted our launch to be really like to get people right away, and we wanted to tell this big story, and we were always thinking like Ghostbusters. Like that's where the Dead Presidents came from. It really like the whole process, the whole 3 years for me was so fun. It was putting all these influences in a blender, all these things that you love, and putting Deadpool through them, but even writing him, we always had other people in our head, well, we can get into that later, like who the influences were, but
sure. Yeah. I want to talk to Mike a little bit, but Gerry, I do want to say, if you ever get a tattoo, I want it to be "Let fun be my guiding star," and like in like old English font, like right on your chest.
That'd be a great tattoo. Yeah. Be a fun tattoo, and then a really fun thing to see on a tombstone. Let fun kill him. He did it.
Mike, you are well known as having, I believe, drawn the most pages of Deadpool comics in Deadpool's 30 years. How does that feel?
Amazing.
It's pretty crazy. I did not plan it, and my dad taught me that if you can't be the best, then at least like don't abandon something. And he taught me that by abandoning my family. So I just stuck with it. I never met him, by the way. I'm lying. He didn't actually teach me.
Well, but no, you know what?
But
you
I
took
did.
You
I
took
did.
that pain and put it in.
I did. No, but more than anything, honestly, like I broke a lot of personal rules with Deadpool that I said I would like. I had a personal rule that I should admit to editors, but I wouldn't stay on a book for more than 12 issues because I would get bored pretty bad. But this was one of those rare cases where everybody was having so much fun and everything worked so beautifully. You kind of didn't want to break the team up. So I just stayed in place and kept enjoying it. You know, I was thrilled to do it. And I kept getting, you know, sort of, there were a couple of gigs that came around where I thought, oh, maybe I should, you know, consider this. But Deadpool sort of always, it was just, we were having so much fun. It didn't make sense to ditch it. So,
yeah. No, I love that. I love long runs of comics. I love teams being together. I think, and we know our fans do too. Brian, you talked a little bit about influences and stuff like that. And Gerry, you talked a little bit about comedy, you know, working together, Mr. Show and stuff like that. Brian, tell me a little bit about the influences that you guys were really like thinking about and putting into as you were going along with these stories.
Well, with Deadpool, because it was pre-movie, you know, you didn't have like a voice in your head for him. So we, like, for me, I always put Bruce Campbell and Kurt Russell were my were my Wades. I had both of them in there in everything. Anytime I did a page, it was thinking like, you know, Kurt Russell and John Carpenter, just classic. Big Trouble, Little China. That was, you know, and then Ash from Evil Dead. Those were the two big guys of like these anti-heroes that kind of, they're doing it their way. They're doing the fight their way, and they might always, you know, make some bad choices and do, you know, but it's all about being cool in the moment while they're doing it too. Both those guys, Ash, you know, and Kurt Russell, being a badass and looking cool while you're doing it is super important. That was always the thing of like, for me at least.
Gerry, what was it like for you? Did you have that kind of similar mentality?
Yeah, I think so. We, ingested the same movies, and I think our love of comics was true. Deadpool became. I don't want to, like, it sounds like a joke. I was shocked every time to sort of get picked up. You know, I thought, well, we got the Dead Presidents. Oh my gosh, we're getting another rodeo, and now we have Mike Hawthorne. Well, that's a great, that's almost a career. Let's, drop it. And it became this thing where we're trying to compete, I think, with only ourselves and try to have as much fun, and then bring Deadpool was this really special character that we inherited at the right moment, where so many of the folks that came before us really built him into like a rocket ship that was ready to take off. So I think whoever it was that at that moment that was going to step on the stage was going to have a great time and a great run, and luck and timing are everything. And we came with the right ideas that made people laugh or made people bummed out, and that was probably the secret, is treating him like a piece of tofu that could absorb a horror story or absorb a comedy or absorb a superhero adventure or a sci-fi story. So we did try to really maintain I think a pretty diverse sort of genre pool that we sort of threw at him.
For sure.
I think that's a great point, Gerry. Like the malleability, and then all the different types of stories that are told in y'all's Deadpool work. Mike, for you, does that present a challenge? Does that sort of help you, because you said you think you might get bored after 12 issues? Like, is there something about that makes the changing genres and types of stories challenging for you as an artist?
Absolutely. I think because of that, it was kind of impossible to get bored. Like there were times when I was starting to wonder if these guys didn't like me because they were having me draw these really difficult things. But it really did feel like every arc was its own separate movie and had its own unique visual challenges that you had to figure out. I was lucky enough to also kind of inherit this book from Tony Moore, who had really laid down a lot of track for me just to follow. So those two things made it a relatively, like, it's just a fun thing to do. You get to work with your friends, but also it's not the same. You know, every time you punch in, you have a different gig sort of waiting for you. That's going to be obviously challenging, but always cool, you know? Yeah. Can I point out something about the voice thing that Brian said, though? It's funny because when the movie came around, I remember having difficulty. I loved Ryan Reynolds as Deadpool, but when he had the uniform on, I remember thinking he doesn't sound right. And it occurred to me it was because of something that was written in the script where his daughter Eleanor points out how his voice sounds funny. And Wade says, "Oh, it's the scar tissue on my vocal cords." And I remember thinking, that's it. His voice is almost a little too pleasant. So I'm bringing up as a way of, commending these guys. They made this character so real for me that when I saw the real guy dressed up as Deadpool, it seemed off because their voice was so strong in the way they wrote it.
Thanks.
Oh, you guys, it's real sweet. Let's talk a little bit about, because there are big moments, of course, in Deadpool's history that happened during this time period. You married him off. Tell me a little bit about the decision to one, to create Shiklah, and then two, to go down the path of marrying Deadpool. What was that like, either Brian or Gerry?
Well, my quick remembrance was, we were trying a new story, we were trying a story in a new medium called Infinite Comics. We were really designing a story with Riley Brown that was going to work primarily first
scrolling on your iPad, right?
Yeah, screen, and that you could reuse art in such a way that, it could be drawn once, but if we needed a gag to repeat it, it would be easy to do that. And we thought, well, what's the curveball? How do you beat, Dracula was intending to sort of unify the monster universe through a marriage in sort of a George R. Martin sense. And we thought, well, obviously one way we could do that is have Deadpool go, well, I asked her to marry me and she said yes. And then my recollection was we were like, and then, they'll get annulled or they'll go to divorce court, and won't that be funny? And Jordan D. White, our editor, was like, no, this is the happy accident that actually is a whole new line of exploration for this character about, can he do it? Does he want to do it? Does he have what it takes to even stay committed? Those were my early recollections of how those sorts of things happened with Riley and Jordan. But Brian, do you remember any differently, or?
No, that's definitely the way it went down. Is that it was just going to be in the spin-off first. That wasn't even going to be in regular continuity, and then we brought her into, out of that Dracula 5. Was it 5 issues? I think, or
yeah, something like that.
And weren't they even not even?
Do you still have the toy there?
Oh, I just got it. Yeah,
yeah. We got.
I didn't know they made it, right? But I was toy shopping with my kid, and he goes, we were like, he was like had a Spidey bug up his that day, so he was like, we really focused like only on Spidey toys, and we walked right by Shiklah. And he goes, "Hey, didn't you create that?" And I go, "Yeah." And we walk by, and then I go, "Oh, wait a second! Like, I didn't even know that was a thing." And then I took a picture and sent it to Gerry, and he goes, "Did you buy it?" And I go, "No." And we were walking around eating ice cream, and I go, "We should go back and buy that thing."
What is that like for you guys? I mean, for all three of you to see these characters that you guys are working on and bringing to life in lots of different ways, to then see them as tangible elements. I mean, Mike, you talked about seeing Deadpool on a screen, a real guy, and that's one thing, but like, I don't know, I've always been fascinated by the idea of something that we love, this art form of comics, and then, the people who make them, my friends, then having the toy of these things, it's just so freaking cool.
Yeah, it really is. Especially when you have kids.
Cool. Yeah, and we were, for us, I mean, well, with Shikla, that's one we created, but we didn't create Deadpool, you know. But we're still big fans, and like I feel connected to that character now for forever, you know. So now when I see a Deadpool toy, I actually do go, oh, you know, like he's my guy now. You know what I mean? Like he lived in my head for 3 years, and I do feel like we, you know, the character is crazy popular now, and he wasn't, but like it all kind of came together. The video game, our run, the first movie. And then he just became this guy that was everywhere at cons, and that was like mind blowing, you know, to walk by, you know, 20 Deadpools and going, hey guys, yeah, I wrote you guys, what's up, fellas, you know, and then like the first time I saw a girl dressed at a con as Shikla, that was really cool. Yeah. Like that was like even more because it's like, oh, that's ours, you know, like. Yeah. She recognized the character that we all, you know, put on the page.
I should also add an apology. Oh, sorry.
Ahead. Go ahead, Mike.
I should add a quick apology because I'm notoriously, I don't go to cons, but I did go to one in DC because Gerry was there. And I also met one of these cool cosplayers, but then I accidentally stole his sword and ran away with it. So if you're out there listening, dude, I'm sorry. I did give it back to him eventually, but I can't help myself. Sorry.
It was yours by trial by combat, I believe.
I didn't even I skipped the combat part and just made it mine by running away with it.
If you can take a katana away from somebody, it does become yours.
Yes,
so that's isn't it like a naval
katana?
That's a naval rule. I think if you get a rope around it. Sorry.
It's the first page of Art of War. That's the
true.
Prologue.
That's true. If I'd have read that book, I would know that too.
I don't know if Brian. Books. Yeah, you're not a book guy, Brian. I don't know if you remember this, but do you remember driving home from San Diego Comic-Con one year, and that's when somebody, Ryan Reynolds, leaked the test footage. Like the Deadpool movie test footage. We were like in the car on the way home on a Sunday, I think, or it had leaked earlier that day. And the con, it was all the talk of that last few hours of the con. And I just remember going, oh, this is going to change a lot of things. We're here wrenching on this shared universe. You know, that it's this longest, Ryan, is it the longest ongoing story? You know, other than the Bible and the other mystical, whatever, the other shared universes.
We're definitely right there next to the Bible. Yeah. I don't have the language, but I know what you're talking about. The longest.
We're coming up on a century of these characters in one universe, and
just like the Bible.
Just like the Bible, we dip in. This can all be a deleted scene for you later.
This is live. What are you doing?
Oh my God!
I'm not with these guys.
I have 1,000 hours of live TV experience. You'd think I wouldn't, but look, the point I wanted to make was, you know, we are contributing stories to hopefully stories that we love. That's the only really bar that we had. Impress our editors, make our artists happy, hopefully make the fans as happy as we were that we got to do this stuff. And then we dip in and out. Like, you know, it was a thrill for me to just be a Deadpool fan again and enjoy Scotty and Kelly's run that came after, you know, and to be able to just get 5 pages again with Brian in the anniversary issue next month. Like, what a treat to be able to sort of go home.
Oh, that was a blast. Again. And it was so short. It was not enough. You wanted more, but
I know, but 5 pagers are hard.
Made every page sing. Like we crammed as much as we could into, you know, as much
wait a minute, I'm
Duggan,
offended.
Deadpool into it.
It was Koblish. You were busy.
I drew
drawing.
it.
Okay, fine.
Yeah,
I will accept this answer.
I drew it on a napkin at Denny's.
I would love to keep this train rolling, but we're running out of time. My producers and everybody are sending me a ton of fan questions. So I want to get to one fan question. We'll try to answer this one quickly before we let you go. And this one is important because I have a daughter. She's 17 months old. So the question comes from the Pooltastic fan of Deadpool. What inspired you to introduce Ellie into Deadpool's life? It was really amazing to see that Deadpool has a daughter and how she made an impact on his life.
Gerry, you should tackle that one. We were both dads, and we were both new dads kind of when we took this over. So I think that's probably part of it, but Gerry...
No, that's undoubtedly part of it, Brian, was the idea that that's where our headspace was at. You're all of a sudden responsible for another little human, and while it sometimes you drive towards ideas that you think might be a terrible idea in order to find, oh my gosh, actually this is something that we can really explore. I think ultimately the characters that we put around Deadpool, we made them obviously hopefully full characters, but also pressure points to be able to harm him. You know, I can't we can hurt Deadpool, we could even kill Deadpool, but I think we're all sort of more interested in what happens when we kind of torture him a little bit. And so when you give him something to lose, all of a sudden, boy, you know, he could, you know, you're cooking with gas. And I think he found himself in a spot where he didn't ask for this, he didn't want this, but now having had that experience, I think, you know, that's a red line in the sand for him. You know, we saw the lengths to which he would go to protect those around him, and especially in what happened at the very end in terms of Secret Empire, about how even though you could play every card right, that it could still not work out for you was a great tragedy for Deadpool.
Yeah, well, it helped in giving him some stakes, you know.
Totally.
A lot of times the character didn't have the high stakes that bringing somebody that you care about or two people you care about into your life, you know.
And the trick too of Ellie was her mutant power, you know, in the meta of this, of going, you leave a toy on the shelf, you give a gift to a character. Not every gift is necessarily welcomed by the folks who might follow you, but they don't have to write her. But at the same time, we made her really hard to kill. You know, she sort of had the gift of reboot, which is very wonderful Deadpool DNA. You know, her mutant power, if you strike her down, she sort of regrows at the age that she became a mutant. So it was fun. You know, obviously we're just trying to have fun and tell stories that we would want to buy off of a rack when we were buying comics off racks.
It's absolutely.
Yeah.
I made her look like my daughter too. Does that count?
Oh,
input.
Yeah.
It's adorable.
Right.
Yeah. I made her grandmother, her mother looked like my mother also. I inserted a lot of my family. I could do that because my mother's dead and she won't hurt me now. But anyway,
that's the note we're going to end this section on. Thank you, Mike,
Thanks,
Gerry, Brian.
You're welcome.